So let me try and figure this case out and try to explain to you how I would go about figuring out any case, really. We need to break it down. We need to figure out what we know and fill in the gap that what we don't know, right? We need to be logical, reasonable, and try and figure, okay, what we know is the crime scene. They find this little girl's bone wrapped in a blanket, then in 2 plastic bags, and there was duct tape on her skull, right, on her head, on her mouth, kind of. So we know that much, and we know that she has a smelly car. That seems to be there was a dead body there. Right? We know that much, and we know that Casey is very. She has some sort of connection here. She's very suspicious because of the fact that she didn't call and report her child missing for almost a month, ever since she left the grandparents' house, right, her parents' house. So we know that much. So we know there's something about her that tells you something is not right. So she knows something about Caylee's disappearance, because if she didn't, she would have called the police, would have done something, because it's her child, right? Right? So we have to figure out the whole connection. How can we figure this all out? So let's just say we think she's a killer, right? Let's just say we think she killed the little girl. Okay, what is her motive? Why would she want to kill the little girl? And if she killed the little girl, why didn't she just get rid of the body somewhere that no one will ever find out? Why leave it near the parents' house, right? So, not logical, right? I can understand that she can leave it in the car for a while and trying to figure out what to do, but why would you leave it that long until it smells? Why? You can have time to, you kill the little girl, and you would have maybe a day, 2 days to figure out where you should bring the body, because you don't want to leave it too long. Someone could find out. So the theory that she kills Caylee and she's this evil person doesn't make logical sense, right? And the grandparents wouldn't kill her because they're the one who's trying to figure out where the little girl is. So we have to consider they're not a suspect. The boyfriend, he adored the girl, he wants to get married. There's no indication that he would have any reason to kill this little girl, right? He could be lying, but the fact is she went to his house and stayed there, and she didn't show any emotion, she didn't show anything. And so it just goes back to Casey again. Okay, if she didn't really kill her child, then it must have been an accident. But we can also assume it was the nanny that she was saying, this person that she was indicating that she took the little girl or stuff. If that was the case, then wouldn't she call the police and say, yeah, this nanny is not giving the child back to her kid back, or something? But no, she seems to be just partying, just having fun, and not really thinking too much about it. Right? You would be in a little panic. You wouldn't want someone to take your child and not care. Doesn't make logical sense. And of course, we never find out if there's a nanny anywhere. She's going to different places and nothing shows up. Again, it goes back to Casey. And we know that she didn't kill the little girl because it doesn't make sense of all the other action that's been happening. So the only logical and reasonable explanation is it was some sort of accident. And I think I heard from the trial that she said the little girl drowned and her father was there and they covered it up and stuff like that. That doesn't make logical sense, because a grandfather sees it. His first reaction would be to call the police and try and rescue his grandkid, right? So I don't think it's just another story that she is making up and saying he's abusing her and all this stuff. It's just, there's too much there to just, it's just too much of a lie. So we have to get rid of that. And then again, we have to focus back on Casey causing some sort of accident. So what happened that day? And we hear a story, what happened that day when she left, right, with Caylee. We know that there's stories that she was stealing money from her grandmother, and that's why her mother was angry at her that day, and then she left that day. So there was a fight, and we know that her mom and Caylee are very attached. She's been taking care of her most of the time, and so you know all this, and you know that the grandmother loved the child. Wouldn't just let Casey just take her that day because she was angry, and that was the little girl's home. Where is she going to take, right? Where is she going to go? To her boyfriend, right? Not likely, because they were very upset, right? And there's also a story that she's saying Casey is not a fit parent, not all this stuff, and so you take that all in consideration, and then you say, okay, that day, that fight, the only logical explanation for all this stuff, or why she's not worried about her child missing for a whole month, is because it's an accident. She decided that day when they got into a fight, she decided to take the little girl without her parents knowing. So likely when she took the little girl is likely at nighttime, close to nighttime or whatever, she decided to put duct tape on the little girl's mouth to keep her quiet, just in case she yells or something. She wants to sneak the little girl out, right? And she wraps a blanket around her, right? And it doesn't take too long for a person to suffocate. Try holding your breath for a minute or two. Some people can't hold it that long. So at some point in that moment where Casey decided to take her kids out of the house without anyone noticing, the little girl must have suffocated, right? And when she puts her in the back seat, she's in a hurry to try and get away, not to take the duct tape or check on her, because it's at nighttime. She could have assumed, it's reasonable to believe that she could assume the little girl is still sleeping, right? So she goes in the car, she drives, right? And could it be at some point she decided, okay, she looks back, she sees, she's probably still sleeping, it's at nighttime, reasonable to believe, and she continued to drive. And at some point she go back, probably take the tape off and realize, oh my god, the kid is not breathing, something's wrong. But instead of calling the police at that moment, her character, the way she is, she's a liar, and so she would reason with herself, if I call the police, she's already dead now, if I call the police, my parents will be right. I am a not fit mother. I am all this bad thing, right? So in that moment, she decided to choose to lie like she would on any other problem she has. She would lie her way through it. And so she convinced herself that what she's doing, it's gonna work out in the end. It's just gonna work out because she can lie her way out of this. And so she puts the little girl in the trunk because she's not sure what to do yet. She goes to the boyfriend's house and she acts normal because her attitude is she needs to believe her lie. She needs to believe it, right? If you believe it, then it will work out. And so her emotion with this little girl, with her own daughter, is not as connected as a lot of you might assume, because the little girl has been taken care of by the grandparents most of the time, right? So I think she is disconnected as a normal mother and a child would be, right? She doesn't bond with her child as much as if you were taking care of your child all the time and you don't have someone like a grandmother that is always taking care of your child, right? So I think that's the other reason why she's not connected as much to the little girl as one normal mother would be. So I think that's the reason why she could actually believe this lie. It's almost like this little girl is not her daughter, but more like her niece or something. The connection is she still loves the little girl, but there's not that deeper connection. So I think that's the reason she could actually believe the lie she's trying to cover up, right? And so that would just explain why she acted the way she acted. She continued to lie. She leaves the body in the trunk, and then she doesn't want to get rid of it because she still loved the little girl, but it was an accident. It wasn't because she really wanted to kill the little girl. So now she has to decide. Because the grandparents have been asking her so much, wanting to know where this little girl is, she needs to make up a story. And she continued to make up a story, and when she couldn't, she knows that it's about to, blow up. She decided to take the little girl's body and put it somewhere. She does not want to throw it in the lake or somewhere far away so that no one can find her, because she still cares for the little girl, right? So she decided to throw it closest to the grandparents' house, because then they will find the body and there's a peace. She's not lost. The little girl is not going to be gone forever somewhere that nobody knows, right? So that is the reasonable, logical explanation why it would be thrown closest to the family house, right? So that would explain it, and it would explain why they took they took care, like they put a blanket over her. They put 2 garbage bags just to protect her from the element, and with the tape around her mouth. Obviously she took the tape out before when she died, right? But when she put it there, she wanted to put that tape, could be like the detective says, or the investigator, that the tape was just there to hold the skeleton or whatever. But it could be that she knows that's the reason the child died, and if somehow the autopsy shows the reason why it died and it doesn't connect, it doesn't make sense, then there might be a problem. So she decides to put the tape there just so that if they come up with a conclusion, they will say, yeah, this is the reason why she died. So I think that's why the duct tape did not have the little girl's DNA before, as if the tape was put after the body was dumped there, right? So that is the only logical conclusion to how is she acting and why was the body left like the way it left and all of that. And I cannot find another reason, another motive for anyone else to do it. And for that matter, the fact that Casey's attitude, Casey's behavior, she's partying, she's have no care in the world, right? Because she knows it was an accident. She knows that what she did wasn't her fault. Like, it was her fault, but it wasn't like she meant to do it, right? She wasn't trying to kill her kid. So she can believe that lie, right? Because she's been lying all her life. Because even in the trial, she hinted the truth, kind of, that the little girl drowned, similar to the little girl can't breathe. So I think she made up that story to kind of almost tell the truth, right? It's similar, but she's not going to tell the complete truth because she doesn't want to look like she was a unfit mother or an idiot, right? For trying to take her kid out of the house and putting duct tape on her mouth and then accidentally killing her own child, right? She doesn't want to look like that. She wants to tell this other story that is kind of similar. So I think that is the only logical explanation that I can see out of this crime. So you decide.